When grown on exceptional terroirs, when prepared by experts who are respectful of the land and of the plant, tea can achieve the status of a great vintage, of an exceptional tea. In the world of tea, unexpected countries are doing surprisingly well. Such is the case of Malawi in Africa, whose harvests are now attracting connoisseurs. The north of Vietnam is also home to incredible 100-year-old tea trees. Their reputation is well deserved. These plants grow high in the mountains, and their best leaves are difficult to reach. And in a remote Himalayan valley in Nepal, committed growers are producing teas that rival their Indian counterparts. Malawi is known for its huge lake, Lake Malawi. It occupies 1/5 of the country. In the south, the mountains soar to 3,000 meters. Malawi is one of the poorest countries in Africa, and yet it is the second largest tea producer on the continent. The village of Tchulu is surrounded by vast tea plantations. These lands were cleared at the end of the 19th century by thousands of workers from neighboring Mozambique. February is the harvest period. It's now time to collect the tea that was picked in the afternoon. The Satemwa plantation was created in 1923 by a Scotsman who came here to grow tea in the middle of huge tobacco fields. Today, the estate covers 900 hectares. And at the peak of the season, nearly 1,600 people live and work here. François-Xavier Delmas has just arrived from Paris. He's one of the founders of the Palais d'été company. A specialist in premium teas, he travels the world looking for new sources. Wherever he goes, he takes photographs and offers them to the local inhabitants. It's a way of connecting with the families whose livelihood depends on tea.
What you do is he will give to the head teacher. Of course. So the head teacher will not give to an individual child because there are so many.
Alexander Cathcart Kay inherited the plantation from his grandfather, who was an early pioneer of tea in the region.
Our oldest field was planted in 1926. So that was actually planted in between tobacco when he was converting the property from tobacco. But yeah, and it's actually we make a nice oolong from those old fields. It's a China type seed, so a very small leaf, very aromatic. So we make oolongs from those old fields.
The tea here is grown on very good soil. It's volcanic in origin. The red colour doesn't mean much here. Red soils are usually rich in iron, but that's not the case here. In fact, it's an acidic soil, which is good for tea plants. Here, both the soil and the climate are absolutely perfect. But it's not the only suitable country in Africa. Although not very well known, there are other countries such as Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda that are absolutely marvellous places to grow tea. And gradually, these countries are certainly going to start producing very good teas thanks to people like Alex. Tea is a camellia, and camellias have a particular nature. They like humidity, they like humid air. They need wet seasons, they need quite a bit of water vapour. They need altitude as well, it's better for them. Here we're at an altitude of 1,200 metres. It's easier to make a good, clean tea. At this altitude, the tea plants aren't attacked by hordes of insects that can destroy them.
For you, is it easy to know what comes from terroir and what comes from cultivar? Can you separate, or it's impossible?
No, only more recently have we been able to really start understanding that a bit. But as I was, It's really, we've always relied on the cultivar to give us those really defining characteristics of a tea. But as I was saying, you know, we're starting to really understand the influence of soil health on the character now, and we're seeing that coming through a lot.
Around the property, there are also private plots from which Alexander buys tea.
Here we have a leaf which is not as good as elsewhere, simply because to make a living today you have to produce all sorts of teas, such as mid-range teas. And we'll also learn that as a tea connoisseur, Alex also produces some very, very rare teas.
Most of the families in the area survive by growing tea. It's the most profitable crop. Here we're on a plot where the standards are much more rigorous. This is where the premium teas of the estate are grown.
Yeah, but you can see selection is done when they are plucking on the tea bush. So because we are doing fine plucking, we go for soft tender shoots, which are 2 leaves and a bud or 1 leaf and a bud.
So they can take this?
Yeah.
This is perfect?
Yes, that one is perfect. And in fact, before sending this to the factory, they have to take out some of these hard leaves.
The workers pick only what's very flexible, the new growth. If you look carefully at the field, you can immediately see it in the colour. It is yellowish, not green. These leaves here are incredibly tender. Later they have to be withered and then rolled. Pickers take the bud and a single leaf, or the bud and 2 leaves, that are a little yellowish and that have this incredible suppleness. This stage is crucial for producing good teas.
Having a processing factory near the tea fields has the advantage of limiting transport time and thus maintaining optimal freshness. High-quality teas are transported separately in small containers so the leaves don't get crushed.
As tea is partly composed of water, 2 kilos of fresh leaves will only produce 400 grams of finished tea.
The leaves are spread out on large ventilated surfaces. This first operation is called withering. It allows a large part of the moisture contained in the leaves to evaporate. The plantation helps to support the village school.
My name is François. Thank you very much for your presentation. Me, I am a tea taster. Because Satémois in Paris is famous for specialty. You know what is specialty? Yes. Do you pluck like this? Yes. No. Yes. What do you need to improve in the school?
We have a lot. I think the main challenge are the basics. So we are working on that. Yeah, so we want to have, the basics.
are you?
In the factory, the withering operation is finished. The leaves are taken to the rolling area. The machines look old, but that's what makes them so good. They're from Taiwan, and in their category, better ones have never been made.
Definite opportunity for quality in the market, and what's really exciting is seeing some of the varieties that we've been working with. Sometimes we think they're poor quality, but made in another way are really fantastic varieties.
In Taiwan and China, small machines are used. Their handmade teas are greatly appreciated, and in order to make very fine teas, it's produced in small 10-kilo batches. Seen from this angle, Alex's approach is quite remarkable. He uses small machines with the aim of making much finer teas than he normally makes. The aim of rolling is to sort of bruise the leaf. It's not a question of tearing the leaf itself, but rather of breaking its structure. That way you can see it well. By looking at my hands, I'd say that the leaves are wet enough. The juice is coming out of them, and this is what allows oxidation. Oxidation takes very little time, only a few minutes, and as soon as it's finished, we begin the drying stage.
Drying is also done the old-fashioned way, in a wood-burning oven.
Next, the tea leaves are placed in an oven on a small conveyor belt, and the drying process begins. This stabilizes the tea. From now on, it can no longer acquire any humidity. Drying is the end of the process. After this heating, the tea has a humidity level of about 3%. The processing is finished. All we have to do now is sort and pack the tea.
On Sundays, the school opens its doors to the local community living around the plantation. Many women with their young children come to sing prayers. In his search for excellence, Alexander tries some surprising things.
This came after a trip to India, actually, where people were rolling by hand, but in a different way. So when we started trying different techniques, we came up with this. Each leaf is individually rolled, so it brings a lot of sweetness to the leaf. When you taste it later, you'll see there's no astringency at all in the cup.
We're working creatively here in pursuit of a particular gastronomic experience. It's crazy. It takes hours and hours of work, and we're never aware of the passing time. Afterwards, you drink a cup of tea, you take some tea and infuse it with hot water. If you just take 2 seconds to think of the time it takes to make teas like these, it's simply amazing. It takes an incredible amount of work, an unbelievable amount of effort, and I haven't even judged the quality of the tea yet. For that, it has to be tasted. The verdict's in the cup.
Tasting is an essential step in the search for premium teas. And everything is carefully calibrated, from the temperature of the water to the length of infusion.
This is the tea you saw the women working on earlier. It's strange. It has both leathery animal smell and a very fruity smell too.
For Alexander, it's a rather stressful time. He knows how demanding François Xavier is. Yet at the same time, it's an opportunity for him to evaluate the quality of his teas and talk about them with an expert.
This I prefer.
What I really like is the experience in the mouth. There's an immediate sensation of fullness. This is a very strong aroma and a long finish of woody notes. A rather strong olfactive richness. The strength is powerful and there's a variety of aromas. There's a fruity note and a woody note, but here's also a floral note with a very, very fine, lingering astringency. That's what I call a real experience. This is what I'm looking for. I won't find this in every tea. But here, this is the real delight, to find it here with such intensity.
Another very important factor that we sometimes forget is the water.
Water, of course, is a key issue, and it's different from one country to another. And water obviously will greatly alter the taste of the tea. So in our job, it's not necessarily simple to compare a tea steeped here in Malawi and a tea steeped in Paris. The result will be different, so you have to try to imagine. You see, the key to it all is curiosity and the desire to develop something that stands out from the ordinary. And here, I'm pretty sure I'm going home with some rather excellent premium teas.
And the price changed every day.
15 odd years ago, we were so used to making one type of tea and not really thinking that we could evolve much further from that. And then once we opened that door into discovering new flavors, now we can't stop. You know, just like what else can be, what else can we do, and what other flavors can we create or unlock, maybe, not create.
This terroir in Malawi looks promising for Alexander and his team. They will undoubtedly develop it to its full potential. Now we head for Asia, to the Ha Giang province in northern Vietnam. On the border with China, this mountainous region is particularly favorable for the cultivation of tea, a tradition that's more than 3,000 years old here. The village of Cao Bo is located on the confluence of several rivers descending from the summits. This privileged location guarantees good irrigation both for rice, a major crop here, and for tea. Today, an important celebration is taking place. The festival commemorates the Hung dynasty, the kings that founded Vietnam. Mui and her friend, like most of the villagers, are part of the Zhao ethnic group. They're wearing their traditional festival costumes. But before going to join their families, they have to pick tea. It's not raining, and the factory needs the leaves to maintain production. These tea plants are exceptional in every way. They are several hundreds of years old, and they look more like trees than like the usual small tea bushes. And most importantly, they produce very high-quality leaves. The best leaves and the most tender buds are at the top. The only way of reaching them is to climb up the tree.
In springtime, the tea harvests are very important for us. We harvest tea for our own daily consumption at home, but more importantly for the factory, it's a significant income for the family.
Criteria of quality are very strict. Only perfect leaves are picked. So the harvesters must return to the same trees several times as the weather changes.
At the beginning of the harvest season, the factory only buys a bud with a single leaf. As the season advances, we start buying a bud with 2 leaves, sometimes with 3. But this is what we really want, a bud with a single leaf. That's ideal. Harvesting begins after the rainy season in spring and lasts for about a month.
Gathering and transporting the harvest to the factory is done mostly by men. This is usually done by motorcycle. They collect tea from several plots belonging to different families. The Khao Bo factory doesn't own any land. It buys tea from the local farmers that it usually works with. The first bundles of tea are arriving. They will be weighed and checked.
I control the quality of the tea leaves to verify that the farmers have worked correctly. Here's the top quality, 1 bud and 1 leaf. Sometimes they're a bit mixed, and that can alter the quality of the tea. We systematically remove anything that doesn't correspond to our quality standards.
The entire production is organic. A chart lists the very strict specifications. In any case, the price of chemical fertilizers is too high to be used. Most of the tea in this region is therefore grown organically. Some farmers arrive long after nightfall. Their fields are sometimes 30 or even 45 minutes away from Khao Bo. Once the sacks have been weighed and checked, the foreman pays the farmers. The quantities of tea brought to the factory are modest due to the festival of the hung kings. As soon as the huge sacks arrive, the men unpack them. The leaves are spread out on the perfectly clean floor of this room. Here they are walked on with bare feet to begin the withering process. While the last farmers bring in their sacks, a factory worker turns on a fan in order to maintain the ideal temperature for the preservation of the leaves. Khao Bo is perched at an altitude of 800 meters, so it's not very hot during the night. But it's hot enough for the leaves to ferment if by chance they were to spend the night in the bags. The cooperative director has decided to produce only green tea. Unlike black tea, the leaves used in green tea are not oxidized. They're simply rolled, then dried to stop the transformation process. Given the topography here, rice is cultivated on the terraces. The tea plants are found higher up the mountainside. The farms are generally well-sized. They often house several generations of the same family. It's common to find an artificial pond for raising fish and ducks. At the Ban's farm, breakfast is being prepared. It's a hearty meal composed of rice or noodles, vegetables and eggs. It's needed before climbing up to the tea fields for a long day of work. The grandmother cooks the rice. She'll remain at home and get on with a few household chores. One of the sons smokes a traditional pipe filled with very harsh brown tobacco. The grandmother prefers chewing tobacco. Don't bother to look for tea at the local market. There isn't any. Each family has its own trees and grows their own tea. All the women wear the traditional Tsao headdress. Very attached to their customs, the Tsao have their own language and writing. They marry within their ethnic group. There are about 1 million Tsao in the mountains of Vietnam. This morning, some of the factory team will climb to one of the highest harvesting zones located at 1,200 meters altitude. On the way, the director, Mr. Tuan, observes TD's work.
We prune the branches once a year. That allows a better regrowth for the tea plants.
With TD's method, the good leaves are retrieved from the branches that have fallen on the ground.
There is a rather significant difference between the mid-altitude teas and the high-altitude teas. This year in particular, the high-altitude teas are of a very high quality, much better than last year. The weather conditions were very good.
Continuing up the narrow paths, the humidity and the coolness become more apparent. The largest tea plants are found in a zone above the village of Tak Tang. Some are over 300 years old. 3 workers have climbed to the top of the tree in order to harvest the tenderest leaves. The age, the altitude, and the climatic conditions promise a tea of exceptionally high quality.
I often drink tea at home and I always offer it to my visitors. For Zaos, our people, tea has an important social function. It's a mark of hospitality towards visitors and a good way of getting to know them.
For his part, Mr. Tuan is reassured. With the quantity harvested, he can now begin the production of high-altitude black teas.
If we compare the taste of mid-altitude tea to that of high-altitude tea, the difference is immediately apparent. The tea that comes from these very old trees is utterly unique. The tea from the lower altitude is inferior, and it's often bitter.
Workers from a nearby cinnamon plantation share a hut with the tea pickers. They all belong more or less to the same family. As the weather is fine, the women have spread a cloth outside so that the workers who have climbed up from the factory can also eat. On the menu, there are grilled chicken feet, rice and bamboo shoots, all washed down with rice wine. At the factory in the valley, everything's ready to begin the production of the premium black teas. The leaves have spent more than 15 hours withering on well-ventilated mats. They can now be rolled in order to activate the essential oils that they contain. Once again, the machines are old, but they're perfectly designed to properly crumple and roll the leaves. Now comes one of the key stages in the process, fermentation. Everything must be carefully controlled, and as the ambient temperature is around 28 to 30 degrees, the process is closely supervised. Once the decision is taken to stop the fermentation, the tea is then sent to the dryer on a conveyor belt. It passes into a large chamber heated by wood. When cooled, it can then be stocked or packaged. To avoid damaging the tea, it's weighed and packed by hand. Kaobo also produces pu'er. These fermented tea cakes are also highly prized. Nam and Dung are now ready to test the high-altitude tea that the factory has just produced. It's the first of the season and will allow them to evaluate the influence of the weather on the taste of the tea. Water temperature at 90 degrees, infusion duration between 3 and 4 minutes, depending on the nature of the test, everything is carefully calibrated.
For high-altitude black tea, all the stages are important. But I'd say that the fermentation is without a doubt the most critical moment. Great care must be paid to how it's done, to its evolution. And, of course, experience is necessary.
Not surprisingly, the two experts finish the tasting with a smile. These century-old trees still have a good many years ahead of them. We now head towards Nepal. to one of the remote Himalayan valleys where the climatic conditions, while often extreme, are well suited to the cultivation of high-quality teas. Near the village of Fikal, frequent torrential rains can suddenly give way to welcome sunshine a few hours later. Imposing plantations appear at 1,500 meters altitude. The primary forests have long since been reduced either by the need for firewood or to plant tea. Rice grows better lower down. Fikal resembles many other Himalayan villages where people stop to shop or grab a meal at one of the many roadside stands. The Indian border is not far away, and many Nepalese work in the plantations in Darjeeling. Recently, however, many tea gardens have appeared here under the management of young enterprising Nepalese directors. This is the case of Sonam Lama. He's visiting the Sapkota family from whom he buys tea to process. Here, mutual aid is the norm. The Sapkotas have received help from 3 neighbors, who, in turn, can count on help for harvesting their production. Umakanta, the father, supervises the work while listening to Sonam.
You see, you have to take the leaf from underneath and pull it towards the top like this. You only take the leaf that you want to pick, not the whole branch.
As soon as the sun comes out, I start to harvest. In one day, I can go out 12, 15 times, depending on the weather.
The family also grows a few vegetables and raises chickens, but tea remains their main source of income. Kalpana processes her own tea. She does the minimum to it. The harvest warms up in the strong sunlight and the leaves dry between 2 showers. It's a tea for daily use. She prepares some for Sonam and her husband.
If you re-steep the leaves by pouring the first infusion over the leaves again, you get better colour.
Yes, it'll be stronger, but it won't be as good.
Yes, it will. It'll be good.
It will be bitter. It's difficult to get the real taste of tea if you force the aromas.
I think she made it in a very crude, in a very ancient style of making tea. But the quality of the cup, the liquor is really nice. Special character of this tea. It's very light and it doesn't have any kind of astringency because she hasn't rolled it or she hasn't given any mechanical pressure to this tea. It's just dried slowly, dried slowly, and then made into tea.
I've grown tea for 22, 25 years now.
our main thing is to cater to buy leaves from very small farmers, from very marginal farmers, because those tea have the character of how the farmer raises his tea, how he plucks his tea. This tea has been very minimally processed, because the leaves are whole, the level of oxidation, things like, it's partially oxidized and like very gently made tea. I think the tea is well balanced. She knows what she is doing. That's very important.
Sonam will, of course, use a more sophisticated and precise method to process Kalpana's leaves. But the flavor that she managed to obtain has already given him some good ideas. Meanwhile, the neighbors have made progress on the lower plot. This notion of mutual aid is very common in all the valleys, be it for harvesting tea or building a house. When you live in the mountains at 1,500 meters altitude with frequent and intense climatic variations, solidarity is vital.
Cultivating organic tea is complicated here. After the harvest this autumn, we have to turn the soil and spread the cow manure. It has to be well distributed and dug in. If not, then the nutrients are wasted. There are also birds that come and mess with the manure. We don't use commercial fertilizers. We've been organically farming for 12 years now.
It's mid-October. The alternation of heavy rains and sporadic periods of sunshine has produced a particularly abundant harvest. Daily harvesting will soon begin in Sonam's valley. Kalpana is once again busy in the kitchen. She has to prepare a meal for her neighbors and for Sonam. It will be dal bhat, a traditional dish of rice and lentils. Sonam is also interested in the tea harvested in a nearby valley by the Rai family. They live in Tingari at more than 1,600 meters altitude. At this time of the year, there's often a mist, but the sun manages to break through the clouds. Basita and Lila, mother and daughter, are helped by a neighbor. They work at a fast pace.
In terms of terroir, it is always the geological part of what the soil is made out of, like the mother rock, what the composition of the mother rock is in tea. Since we don't have many labs and we don't have reliable labs in Nepal, it always depends upon our organoleptic senses, like we know like when we make tea from some place, like it automatically comes out to be good.
Once again, the leaves are quickly gathered and transported to Sonam. Don't look for any sophisticated equipment at the Mandela, Sonam's tea factory. A country like Nepal just doesn't have the means. Furthermore, Sonam prefers old machines. They're better at producing the results he wants. Before anything else, the leaves have to be withered, and the workers proceed with the greatest of care. They check the density of the leaves and the ambient temperature. From 25 to 50% of the original weight is lost to evaporation. When they're withered, the leaves become malleable and are ready for the next stage, rolling. The machine is antiquated, but it does the strict minimum, and that suits Sonam perfectly. Blessed by the nearby temple, it'll be ready for many more seasons to come. Rolling extracts the juices and the essential oils present in the leaves, and it encourages the oxidation stage. Sonam uses large wicker trays, particularly during the fermentation stage. This limits the amount held on each tray to small quantities. Despite very steep slopes, some tea gardens have remodeled the landscape into harmonious plots. With this cultivation method, every square meter is used. This tea garden belongs to Umesh Rai, Mrs. Rai's nephew. The harvesting requires a large workforce due to the density of the plantation.
We harvest only a single leaf and a bud. This method produces premium tea. If we pick more leaves, we automatically discard them. What we really want is a single leaf and a bud. The harvests before the October festivals and in July or even in June are good months. June gives good results, but late July and August give the best leaves. Right now the shoots and the leaves are smaller. We pick them like that. Today the leaves are larger. We had a long break over the Dashain festival holiday and they had time to grow.
Sonam is often surrounded by young people whom he trains. He's persuaded that these valleys are full of unexploited potential. He prepares a tea tasting to present his premium teas.
Actually, throughout my tea tasting career of 22 years, I've never come across excellence. What is coming every day is excellence for me. But I don't know. I actually don't know what is the true parameter of excellence, because it's nature. So you can expect anything from nature. We know their customers' palate, you know. The Germans, they want it more astringent. The Japanese, they want more smooth. The French customers, they want more complex. So
We usually, that is our like guidance to assort our teas and make it into lots. So tea is a very oriental kind of beverage. So as far as we keep our young generation to keep this oriental, conserve oriental heritage, I think that's a big responsibility that lies on every tea farmer or every tea grower or every tea producer all over the world. Yeah, we are very proud that Nepalese tea has been selected as Grand Cru or put in special category, but that is mostly due to where we are located. Like we are in the laps of Himalayas. It's called the Sivalik Hills. Like the soil is at its best all the time. We are getting good rains, beautiful rains, good winds, good mist. So, of course, the quality of all our agricultural products should be different from the rest of the world.
Inspired by the success of Indian Darjeeling, Nepal has managed to create a unique and precious tea of its own, as have Malawi and Vietnam. I'm gonna fly